Module 3. Adequate controls. Direct and alternate controls. When it comes to safety controls, some controls are more effective than others. Direct controls should be prioritized over alternate controls. Direct controls focus on eliminating or isolating the hazard. They are less likely to be impacted by human error. Alternate controls are often subject to human error, making them less effective. Examples of alternate controls include training and standard work instructions not being followed knowingly or unknowingly. Personal protective equipment may give the user a false sense of security or safety. It may not be appropriate for the hazards. It may not be worn or not be worn correctly. Posted signage or markings may be looked past or disregarded. Temporary barriers may not dissuade team members from going past them. Direct controls are the strongest and preferred form of control when dealing with a high-energy hazard. It is defined as a control meeting all three of the following requirements. It is targeted to the high-energy hazard. The control must be designed and intentionally used to specifically address the high-energy hazards. It effectively mitigates the high-energy hazard when installed, verified, and used properly. It should also eliminate or mitigate the energy exposure to below the 1,500 joule threshold, or the workplace exposure limit for health hazards. The control is considered absent if it is incorrectly installed or not regularly inspected or maintained. It is effective even with unintentional human error during the work. The direct controls against high-energy hazards must be functional even when someone makes a mistake during work. Alternate controls may be used in addition to direct controls or may be used when no direct controls are available to further address high-energy hazards. They do not compensate for the absence of a direct control. They often consist of different levels or hierarchies. Examples include training, signage, personal protective equipment, temporary barriers, and standard work instructions. In this slide, we will talk about the hierarchy of controls. The hierarchy of controls is a systemic approach used to minimize or eliminate hazards in the workplace. It prioritizes methods based on their effectiveness in providing a safe work environment. Let's discuss each tier, starting with the most effective and working down to the least effective. Number 1. Elimination. This is when we can remove a hazard from the workplace or process. For example, if a particular construction method poses a risk, choosing a different method that eliminates the hazard is ideal. Number 2. Substitution. This is when we replace hazardous materials or processes with a safer alternative. For example, using non-toxic materials instead of those that pose a health risk. Number 3. Engineering controls. This is when we implement physical modifications to the workplace to reduce exposures to hazards. For example, this could be when we install guardrails on equipment or machinery to minimize the risk of the team member coming in contact with that moving part. Number 4. Administrative controls. This is when we change how work is carried out to reduce risk. This would include implementing policies, training team members, or reducing the time workers spend in a hazardous condition. For example, this would be implementing a heat illness prevention break schedule when work must continue in high-temperature environments. The fifth and least effective is personal protective equipment, PPE. This is the last line of protection from a hazard with tiers 1 through 4 cannot be implemented. PPE should never be the first choice when determining the safest way to perform a task. A combination of these strategies with a focus on the most effective controls will lead to a safer work environment. Module 4. Human Performance Principles, also referred to as HOP. Next Era Energy has adopted Human and Organizational Performance (HOP) principles. We are asking our construction partners, their site management teams and their team members to do the same. HOP principles reflect how humans will or will not perform within an organization. HOP is rooted in 7 core principles shown to the right of the slide. They serve as a crucial framework for creating a safe, more reliable and high-performing organization. These principles offer actionable insights into the inevitability of human error, the detrimental effects of blame, and steps that can be taken to foster a culture centered on learning, shared accountability, and continuous improvement. The first principle is that people make mistakes. Error is normal. Even the best team members make mistakes. We have to investigate further to uncover and improve systemic vulnerabilities. Accepting this truth leads to building reliable, resilient systems and processes that help ensure failure can occur safely. Catastrophic failure occurs when we ignore that truth and only focus on prevention. We cannot accept that human error is the cause of an event or failure. The second principle is that failures can occur safely. It's not if, it's when. Implementing and layering controls is key. We must always plan and execute work as if a failure is going to happen today. The third principle is that context influences behavior. Team members do what they do for a reason, and the reason makes sense to the team member given the context of the situation. For example, expectations, goals, resources, mindset, culture. We need to seek to understand site, crew and individual rationale, deviation-prone rules, and normalized deviations. To learn about the context of an incident, we need to shift our thinking from who failed and why to what failed and how. Adjustments need to be made based on the current understanding to positively influence behavior change. The fourth principle is that violations are rarely, if ever, malicious. Blame fixes nothing. Blaming a team member limits the potential for meaningful change and prevention of future reoccurrences. Questions need to start with the assumptions of good intentions to enable learning and drive shared accountability. What and why should be the basis of every question. We have to fix what failed, not necessarily who. The fifth principle is that incidents can stem from normal deviations. How we imagine work takes place is different from how work actually takes place. Work is complex, performed in adaptive dynamic work environments that require team members to improvise and deviate from work plans and standards in real time. In order to do so, we need to understand what drives the deviation. We need to seek to identify and attempt to correct the cause of repetitive normal deviations. The sixth principle is that management's response to failure matters. Managers and frontline leaders shape how the organization learns by their reaction to failure. When events or failures happen, we have to be intentional about tempering our response. Knee-jerk reactions often involve blame or judgment that stifles valuable learning opportunities. The seventh and final principle is that learning is a deliberate improvement strategy. Learning is a strategic and operational choice towards improvement. We have to create and embrace opportunities for learning. We have to conduct thorough post-event analysis and share lessons learned to enhance future performance. Module 5. Human Performance Tools. Steps to take to reduce human errors. We will never be able to eliminate accidents from occurring. We rely on controls that, when in place, will provide team members with the capacity to lessen the potential impacts and recover safely when an accident should occur. The following human performance tools that will be covered in more detail in the coming slides will help reduce human errors. Maintaining a questioning attitude. Actively participating in pre-task planning discussions. practicing situational awareness, practicing three-way communication, stopping when unsure or unprepared, following the established work procedures, using the 2-minute rule, utilizing place-keeping practices, avoiding taking shortcuts, not giving in to peer pressure, being your brother's and sister's keeper. When used effectively, these tools can also help ensure that adequate controls are layered, remain in place, and do not break down. Maintain a questioning attitude. A questioning attitude promotes a preference for facts over assumptions and opinions and encourages thought about safety before action is taken. It is a fundamental part of a start when safe pre-job briefing check. It prompts gathering verifiable facts to ensure that adequate controls are in place to build capacity. The added capacity will help to lessen the potential impacts to team members and assist them recovering safely when an accident occurs. Apply a questioning attitude. During the start when safe pre-job briefing check. When experiencing uncertainty, confusion, or doubt. When an established work procedure or instruction appears to be flawed. Direction and responses to questions need to be factual and provide certainty. Team members should use their stop work authority if direction being given or responses to your questions include phrases like, "I assume," "probably," "I think," "maybe," "should be," "not sure," "might," "we've always," "because I said so," "just do it," or else. It's important that team members utilize their start when safe authority. Accidents are an action or inaction that results in an unexpected or unintended outcome. When an accident occurs, it is only in retrospect that we can see how we could have stopped work before it happened. While stopping work is important and does catch many identifiable unsafe conditions, team members cannot always foresee every failure before it occurs, weakening the effectiveness of stopping work as a prevention tool. Often, once the need to stop work is determined, it is already too late. A simple start when safe check allows teams to build capacity through the use of adequate controls before work starts. The simple check verifies that team members are not vulnerable to the two major factors known to cause controls to fail, not be in place, or be disabled. The first factor is a team member or crew with a low level or experience and familiarity performing the task. These knowledge-based team members have little to no point of reference and a very high error rate. They have yet to build their competency and may not know what can hurt them, resulting in incorrectly installing, unknowingly disabling, or not using life-preserving controls. The second factor is having inadequate resources. A team member or crew can push through or make do with less than adequate resources, which can make their tasks more difficult to complete. They can believe this is what they need to do or is normal, which can result in failure. Don't start work until the issues or concerns are properly addressed and you feel that it is safe to do so. Team members need to actively participate in pre-task planning discussions. A pre-task planning discussion, such as a toolbox, tailboard, job safety analysis, or safety task assignment meeting, is a meeting that is required to take place prior to starting the task. Frontline supervisors and team members need to view and discuss the task that needs to be performed, the resources, time, material, equipment, tools needed to complete the task, work approvals, permits, inspections, records that need to be completed or obtained to complete the task, the associated steps required to complete the task, the known hazards that may be present while performing the steps, the controls to be utilized to lessen the impact of the known hazard and allow team members to recover safely when an accident occurs. Designated roles and responsibilities of individual team members involved in completing the task. Pre-task planning discussions are to take place before starting the planned work task. Each day, if the work task takes more than 1 day in duration to complete. After extended delays in work activities to complete. Upon a change of the scope, the resources needed to complete and/or a change to the site conditions where the work task is being performed. Before resuming work after a stop work authority was practiced. During the pre-task planning discussion, team members should maintain a questioning attitude. Perform start when safe checks. Ensure that adequate controls have been identified and put in place. Utilize their stop work authority if they are unclear or unprepared to perform the work task. It's important for team members to practice situational awareness. Situational awareness is the ability to perceive, understand, and effectively respond to one's situation. It involves comprehending a given circumstance, gathering relevant information, analyzing it, and making informed decisions to successfully address any potential risks, hazards, or events that might occur. Situational awareness is often split into 3 elements. The first is perception of the elements in the environment. The second is comprehension of the situation. And finally, the projection of future status. These 3 elements basically mean you not only need to understand what is going on around you, but also be able to communicate and act on situations that put you at risk. Here are some tips on how to improve situational awareness. First, assess risks from all angles. Learn to look at things with a 360-degree focus, not just from your view. Maintain a questioning attitude. Second, consider the subconscious. To effectively engage in situational awareness, to make logical decisions, and look to the future with a strategic focus, the subconscious must be engaged and assessed. Simply put, in order to have situational awareness, you have to be open to a variety of perspectives and insights. This is how your strengths and opportunities for improvement can be identified. If you are biased on your views, it can lead to risks for you and your coworkers. Third, communicate with others. Being able to communicate with others your perception of the risks is a vital part of the awareness strategy. An effective strategy requires that everyone be on board, and the best way to achieve this is to be able to communicate with each other. You should be able to communicate at each stage of a risk assessment or the potential hazards with everyone that is involved. Fourth, situational awareness training. Getting situational awareness right early on is important when you are working on a construction job site. Make sure you understand all the policies and procedures before you start a new job. Ask questions about certain job scenarios and even role play if it helps you get a better understanding of what you need to do. Allow other coworkers to give you ideas of what could and could not work in situations. Fifth, work as a team. It is important, if you have a management role or even the role of a crew leader, that you practice situational awareness. If your crew sees you doing it, then they're likely to follow. If crew members see each other doing it, then they will all follow suit eventually. It has to be a conscious effort for everyone to have a 360-degree view of situations and show others the importance of doing so. You must have situational awareness when working in a fast-paced work environment such as the construction industry. There are hazards and risks every day on the job site. To keep yourself and your coworkers safe, you have to be aware of them. Situational awareness is a great tool to use to prevent safety incidents. You are the best resource to prevent safety incidents from happening. Be prepared to stop work when unsure or unprepared. Who can stop work? Anyone on a next-era energy project is empowered and responsible for utilizing their stop work authority if and when they deem it appropriate, regardless of their role, title, seniority, and without fear of repercussion. Stop work is to be utilized when a direct or alternate control is observed to be disabled, out of place, inadequate, or in threat of failing. When a new hazard has been identified that is not protected by adequate controls. There is a change in the crew's staffing that affects the level of experience and qualifications. Or when a team member feels ill-equipped to perform their assigned work task safely. The following actions should take place before restarting work. Notify affected team members and frontline supervisors of the stop work order. Investigate. Affected team members and frontline supervisors should meet to discuss the situation and corrective measures. Correct. The affected areas are to be inspected by qualified experts to verify that issues have been resolved. Resume. Notify team members of corrective measures that were taken and when authorities have given permission to restart. Perform start when safe check. Follow up on controls being implemented for effectiveness. Team members need to follow established work procedures or instructions. Understanding the overall purpose and strategy of established and approved work procedures or instructions promotes a safe, reliable performance outcome. Adhering to those established or approved work procedures clarifies questions and helps ensure that work tasks are performed in a manner with adequate controls in place to reduce the likelihood of a workplace accident. It will allow team members to put controls in place designed to help lessen potential impacts if an accident should occur. Following an established or approved work procedure or instruction without question does not guarantee safety because procedures sometimes contain hidden flaws. With this in mind, follow the established or approved procedures while being mindful of the impact the team's actions could have before taking the actions. Maintain your questioning attitude and situational awareness by using your start when safety check and stop work authority to ensure that when a flaw in a procedure exists, adequate controls will be in place to provide the capacity to lessen the potential impact and recover safely. Team members should utilize the 2-minute rule. What is the 2-minute rule and why to use it? It involves taking 2 minutes to reassess the hazards and required controls when a change to your planned work task occurs. The key objective is to improve your situational awareness of any new hazards that may be present that weren't planned for and discussed in the crew's pre-task planning discussion. Examples of when to use the 2-minute rule. When job site conditions change. When the work environment changes. When equipment or tools change. When team members assigned to the crew change. When your assigned job task changes or you're asked to perform an additional task in support of the work activity. What to do if new hazards are discovered during the 2-minute rule. Maintain a questioning attitude. Perform your start when safe check. Ensure that adequate controls have been identified and put in place. Utilize your stop work authority if you are unclear or unprepared to perform the work task. It's important to practice 3-way communication. When it comes to workplace safety, communication is key. 3-way communication, also known as active listening, is a process that allows all parties involved to participate in a conversation that allows them to share information and understand one another clearly. 3-way communication promotes a reliable transfer of information and understanding, ensuring that the intended action is taken. Three-way communication depends on repetition to ensure an accurate response. This type of communication is essential in the workplace, where misunderstandings can lead to dangerous situations. Three-way communication can help prevent accidents by ensuring everyone is on the same page and knows what to expect. It allows for more accurate and timely communication between team members. In a three-way conversation, team members can ask follow-up questions, give clarifications, and ensure everyone is on the same page. It also allows for more accurate and timely communication between frontline supervisors and team members. With it, frontline supervisors and managers can give precise instructions, provide feedback and clarification of issues, and ensure that team members understand what is expected. This results in fewer misunderstandings and more effective collaborative communication. Overall, it is an essential component of effective communication and effective teamwork in the workplace. Some of the hazards associated with three-way communication not being used include: first, miscommunication. If team members cannot ask for clarification of issues or if they do not understand the message, dangerous misunderstandings can occur. Second, a lack of clarity. For three-way communication to deliver effective teamwork, all team members must be on the same page. If the message is not clear, or if it is misinterpreted, confusion and chaos can result. Third, unclear instructions. When frontline supervisors or managers give instructions to team members, they must be clear and concise. If the instructions are not understood, team members may not know what is expected of them, which can lead to accidents or injuries. Fourth, poor listening skills. Another hazard of not using three-way communication is poor listening skills. If team members are not paying attention, they may miss important information or instructions, leading to dangerous mistakes or accidents. Fifth, rudeness or hostility. Team members can be rude or hostile towards one another if communication is misunderstood. This can lead to tension and conflict and prevent workers from communicating effectively. By understanding these hazards, employers can take steps to mitigate the risks by using three-way communication in the workplace. Here's how three-way communication works. The sender communicates his message to the recipient. Acknowledgement of the communication is made by the receiver repeating all relevant information to the sender. The receiver then asks the sender if they understand the communication. The sender must confirm that the receiver understood the message. If it isn't understood, the sender should indicate that it is not understood, and the three-way communication process needs to begin again. The process should be repeated until everyone knows what is being said. Three-way communication is an effective way to prevent misunderstandings and keep workplaces safe. Place-keeping practices should be utilized when reviewing instructions and best practices. Place-keeping involves physically marking steps in a procedure or other guiding document when they have been completed. Managing a procedure, especially a detailed technical procedure with frequent branching or multiple decision points, can place the facility, equipment, and/or process in jeopardy if a team member inadvertently omits a step or performs a series of steps in an incorrect sequence. Place-keeping practices help to ensure that steps are being followed and that a step is not being missed. Place-keeping is an effective method to allow team members and crews to see what the last step performed was. If, or when, there are handoffs between team members and/or crews. Activities are interrupted or delayed, requiring a stop and restart. Place-keeping examples. When the step is initiated, circle the step number or placeholder. When the step is completed, slash through the circle and document the time and date it was completed. Then have who completed the step initial it. When a step is determined not to be applicable, slash through the circle and place NA next to it. Then have who deemed that it wasn't applicable initial it. Please avoid taking shortcuts. The time or effort isn't worth the risk. When it comes to safety, there is no room for shortcuts. The bottom line is that shortcuts being taken are a leading cause of workplace accidents and injuries. By taking shortcuts, you are not only putting yourself at risk, you are also putting others at risk. By taking the time to follow the proper safety procedures and safe work practices, you can avoid accidents and injuries. These are the most common reasons why people take shortcuts. Number 1. They don't understand the process or the reasons for it. It's important to maintain a questioning attitude. Ask questions if you are unsure. Only start work when it is safe to do so. Perform a start when safe check to ensure that it's safe before starting. Number 2. They feel pressured to finish the work task in a certain amount of time. It can be imposed by others or self-imposed. Many times, individuals place pressure on themselves to complete a task quicker than they can do it without any real outside pressure. When determined to be self-imposed, hold yourself to a higher standard, take the time to complete the task correctly. Help set the expectation with others that shortcuts are unacceptable when it comes to safety. If pressured by others, utilize your stop work authority and escalate to management for assistance. Number 3. They think they know better. Hold yourself to a higher standard, take the time to complete the task correctly. Number 4. They assume they will get away with it. Set the expectation that safety is paramount and that shortcuts will not be tolerated. Number 5. They think it is easier. Don't take the easy route, take the time to complete the task correctly. Number 6. They were directed to do so. Help set the expectation that shortcuts are unacceptable when it comes to safety. Do not ask, recommend, or direct others to take shortcuts. Don't do it, utilize your stop work authority when warranted. To boil it down, taking shortcuts is just an individual choice. Sure, there are many factors that affect whether an individual will make the choice to do so, but it is ultimately a choice that is made. Make the right choice. The safest way isn't always the shortest or easiest way, but it's the only correct way. Be your brothers and sisters' keeper. Safety culture and safety performance are shaped by the collective actions of all team members. Safety isn't something that can be delegated to someone else. It also can't be limited to the protections of oneself. We have to be our brothers and sisters' keepers to ensure that we are providing a work environment and culture supportive of the safe performance of work-related tasks. Lead by example. Follow the safe work requirements established for the site. Demonstrate active ownership and engagement in the site safety program. Wear the required personal protective equipment, PPE. Don't take shortcuts, deviate from established work practices. Mentor new team members. Utilize your stop work authority when warranted. Maintain a questioning attitude. Perform start when safe checks. Ensure that adequate controls have been identified and put in place. Utilize your stop work authority if they are unclear, unprepared to perform the work task. See something, say something. Call attention to an unsafe act, unsafe conditions, unsafe behavior. Safely address it if you are able to do so on your own. Elevate it to be addressed if you are not able to address it on your own safely. Do not leave an item or concern unaddressed. Module 6. Reporting. What, how quickly and to who? Unsafe conditions, acts, behaviors, ask, and direction need to be reported. These items may contribute to a workplace accident or incident if left uncorrected. They are considered to be leading indicators. Take a look at the incident pyramid graphic in the bottom right corner of the slide. These items fall into the lower portion of the incident pyramid. When reported and investigated in a timely manner, it allows for corrections and/or controls to be put in place to prevent or lessen the likelihood of an accident or incident. These items should be reported immediately. The longer they go unaddressed increases the likelihood of them contributing to a workplace accident or incident. These items should be reported to your direct supervisor and safety representative. Do the following if the items aren't corrected in a timely manner or are dismissed completely. Maintain a questioning attitude. Perform a start when safe check. If it's not safe, do not start work. Utilize your stop work authority if warranted. Escalate the item following your chain of command until the item is properly addressed. It should be escalated to next era energy if or when warranted. This should take place when you have exhausted all efforts with your employer. What you need to know: we need your help. We want and need to know about these items. They will help us improve. You will not be penalized. The opposite is true. We are going to make your reporting and associated actions as easy as possible. Acting on these items proactively will likely reduce the likelihood of an accident or incident from occurring. Near misses and good catches need to be reported. What are they? They are learning opportunities that, if acted on correctly, will potentially help reduce the future likelihood of additional occurrences. A near miss is an incident that didn't result in an injury or damage but could have. A good catch is a situation where an incident of any type was avoided. To put it simply, they are those awe moments in our lives. They weren't planned for, but they occurred. They didn't cause any harm, but they could have. Why are they important? Both are considered leading indicators. Take a look at the incident pyramid graphic in the bottom right corner of the slide. When reported and investigated in a timely manner, it allows for corrections, controls to be put in place to prevent or lessen the likelihood of a reoccurrence. Taking action on them will also reduce the likelihood of an incident occurring, resulting in higher severity events and/or harm. Notify your supervisor and management if you observe a near miss or good catch. Work with your supervisor and management to determine why they occurred or are present and implement controls to prevent a reoccurrence. What you need to know: we want to know about these. They provide useful analytics. They will help us improve. You will not be penalized. The opposite is true. We should be recognizing and rewarding you for your reporting. We are going to make your reporting and actions as easy as possible. Acting on these proactively will likely reduce the likelihood of more significant incidents, injuries. Accidents and incidents need to be reported. Accidents and incidents include the following: acts or threats of violence, theft of property, material, equipment, tools, acts of vandalism, damage to property, material, equipment, tools, vehicle accidents, environmental spills, protected or endangered species impacts, site releases, incidents involving the general public and/or neighboring properties. Work-related injuries or illnesses, all, regardless of severity. They need to be reported immediately following the accident and/or incident. They need to be reported to your direct supervisor and your safety representative. The following actions will take place after the accident and/or incident is reported. The incident will be investigated to determine the contributing factors. How did we fail? The root cause, primary cause of failure. Corrective actions, adjustments, direct controls, and alternate controls. Adjustments will be made to work procedures to reduce the likelihood of a reoccurrence. And impacted team members will be retrained on changes to the work process. The focus is on putting controls in place based on the lessons learned from the event to reduce the likelihood of a reoccurrence.